Chapter 1. Captain Alex Renner stood on the outskirts of the once thriving colony of New Terra. The land, which had been alive with human settlers just days ago, was now a graveyard of broken structures, twisted metal, and the eerie hum of damaged equipment. Smoke still rose from several buildings, and the faint odor of burnt electronics hung heavy in the air, mixing with the pungent scent of alien flora that had been scorched in the attack. Alex's boots crunched over debris, his every step echoing through the desolate silence. The colony had been a symbol of humanity's progress, an outpost on Zarin 5, a lush planet ripe for exploration and colonization. But now, it was a shattered reminder of how fragile human ambition could be. His communicator crackled, breaking the silence. "Renner, this is Elise. We need to talk." The familiar voice of Dr. Elise Varner was calm, almost too calm, like someone discussing a mundane task rather than a catastrophe. Alex's pulse quickened, but he kept his tone steady. "Elise, what the hell happened here?" There was a brief pause before she answered. "Meet me at the research station. I have information that might explain all of this." Her voice was as composed as ever, but Alex could hear the underlying tension, an edge he wasn't used to hearing in her. "I don't have time for this, Elise," Alex muttered, more to himself than to her. His eyes swept the horizon, scanning for any signs of movement. The attack had been swift and devastating, leaving little behind but smoldering wreckage. "The colony's gone. People are dead. I need answers now." "I understand," Elise replied, her voice softening slightly. "But you'll need the full picture. It's not what you think. Trust me." Alex exhaled sharply, his breath fogging in the cool air. He wanted to resist, to rush in and start figuring out what happened. But Elise's voice held a weight he couldn't ignore. She wasn't just a colleague. She was someone he had trusted, someone who had been by his side through the most dangerous parts of their mission to Zarin 5. But right now, something about her calm demeanor didn't sit right. "Fine," Alex said, his tone tight. "I'll be there." He ended the transmission and surveyed the colony once more, the silent wreckage of human lives and dreams. The atmosphere felt thick with unanswered questions. His team had already begun collecting samples and searching for survivors, but something gnawed at him. This wasn't just a random attack. Whoever, or whatever, had done this at a purpose. The research station, located on the other side of the colony, was about a half-hour's walk. The path was clear for the most part, the occasional piece of debris blocking his way. The rest of the landscape was eerily still, almost as if the planet itself was holding its breath. No alien creatures, no signs of life, just the remnants of human progress. His boots scraped against the cracked concrete as he approached the facility. The station itself was a sprawl of high-tech laboratories, communication arrays, and research wings. It had been built to withstand anything, or so they thought. The blast marks on the exterior suggested the attackers had come in with precision, targeting key parts of the station with unnerving accuracy. Alex entered the station cautiously, his weapon drawn. The corridors were dark, with lights flickering sporadically. It felt abandoned, as if everyone had vanished into thin air. The air smelled stale, metallic. Faint traces of burning ozone lingered. "Elise," he called, his voice bouncing off the cold walls. A moment of silence passed, followed by the soft hiss of a door sliding open. Elise stepped into view, her appearance as composed as ever. She wore a white lab coat, though it was smudged with dirt and grime. Her blonde hair was pulled back into a tight ponytail, but her face was pale, her eyes strained. Still, she managed a small smile when she saw Alex. "Alex," she greeted, though her smile didn't reach her eyes. "I'm glad you came. What the hell happened here?" Alex demanded, his voice low and edged with frustration. "The colony is destroyed, and from the looks of it, the attack wasn't random. You know something, Elise? What the hell is going on?" Elise's smile faded, and she motioned for him to follow her deeper into the station. As they walked, she remained quiet, and Alex could feel the weight of the moment settling between them. Elise wasn't the kind of person to hold secrets, at least not ones of this magnitude. So why was she acting so guarded? "Come with me," she finally said, leading him into a small, secure lab. The doors slid shut behind them, and the faint hum of computers and machinery filled the air. "I've been working on something here," Elise began, her voice steady. "Something that could explain the attacks." Alex eyed her warily. "Explain the attacks?" "Elise, this isn't just about some random alien uprising. This is something much worse." Elise didn't respond immediately. Instead, she typed rapidly on a nearby console, bringing up a series of holographic displays. Images of alien creatures, strange symbols, and maps of the planet's surface appeared in front of Alex. His eyes flicked over the data, his mind racing as he processed the information. "What is all this?" Alex asked. "The aliens responsible for this," Elise said, her voice lowering, "are not just any species we've encountered before. They are different. They've adapted their biology to integrate with human technology, and I've been in contact with them for months. I've brokered a deal." Alex's heart skipped a beat. "You've done what?" Elise met his gaze, her eyes cold but unwavering. "We can't survive alone, Alex. We're not prepared for what's out there in the galaxy. These creatures, these allies, can give us the edge we need to ensure humanity's survival. We have to work with them." "Work with them?" Alex's voice was a mixture of disbelief and anger. "You've been working with them behind our backs?" "Elise, do you even hear yourself? We're supposed to be helping this planet, not selling out to the enemy." Elise's expression hardened. "You don't understand, Alex. This is bigger than you or me. This is about humanity's future." The silence between them was thick with tension. Alex took a step back, processing her words. Elise, the woman he had worked with, trusted, and respected, had made a choice that defied everything he stood for. She had turned her back on their mission, and on him. He swallowed hard. "You betrayed us all." Her lips tightened, but she didn't respond. Instead, she turned toward the console again, tapping a few keys. "I'm doing what's necessary, Alex, and you'll understand eventually." Alex could feel his anger rising. "I don't need to understand, Elise. I need you to stop whatever this is before it destroys us all." Elise's gaze softened, but there was no apology in her eyes. "I'm afraid it's too late for that." The weight of her words hung in the air as Alex stared at her, the woman who had once been his closest ally. The world he knew was shifting beneath his feet, and the cost of her betrayal was beginning to sink in. Chapter 2. The sterile hum of the research station's lights seemed to echo louder as Alex followed Elise deeper into the facility. The walls around him were lined with high-tech equipment. Holographic displays, complex biological analysis systems, and alien artifacts that hadn't been seen outside of the most secretive research channels. It was the kind of environment that should have felt familiar, a place where science was meant to advance humanity's understanding of the universe. But now, the lab felt cold, alien even, and Alex couldn't shake the growing unease that had settled in his chest. Elise led him into a small, secure lab at the heart of the station, her every movement deliberate, as though she was aware of the weight of his gaze on her. The door slid shut behind them with a soft hiss, sealing them inside. The room was dimly lit, casting long shadows across the equipment that hummed quietly in the background. Elise gestured for Alex to take a seat at the central console, but he remained standing, his arms crossed tightly across his chest. "I didn't come here to play games, Elise," Alex said, his voice sharp, every word weighted with frustration. "You owe me answers, and I need them now." Elise paused, her back turned to him as she manipulated the console with smooth, practiced movements. "I know you're angry," she said, her tone calm, almost detached. "But this is bigger than the colony. It's bigger than us." The holographic display in front of Alex flickered to life, showing images of the alien species Alex had only seen in reports. Their sleek, insect-like forms, their glowing eyes, and their unnatural integration with technology. A chill ran down his spine as he realized the depth of the situation. "What the hell are these things?" Alex demanded, his voice rising. "They don't look like any species we've encountered. And these," he pointed at the glowing symbols on the display, symbols that seemed to pulse with a life of their own. "What do they mean?" Elise's fingers danced over the console, and a new set of images appeared. This time, they were of human-alien hybrid weapons, nightmarish creations that fused human anatomy with alien technology. The weapons were biomechanical, their skin shimmering with a metal-like sheen. "They're hybrids," Elise explained, her voice steady despite the darkness of what she was revealing. "A fusion of human biology and alien technology. I've been working with them to integrate our species with theirs. These weapons are just the beginning." Alex felt his stomach tighten. "You've been helping them create these things?" "Elise, these are monsters, abominations. This isn't some scientific breakthrough. This is madness." Elise turned to face him, her expression unshaken. "It's survival, Alex. We've been too focused on peace, on diplomacy. The galaxy is full of dangers, things we can't even begin to understand. This is our chance to evolve, to become something stronger." Alex stepped back, his hands clenching into fists. The betrayal was sharper now, cutting deeper. "You're talking about enslaving our people, Elise. Using us as tools for some alien factions war. And for what? Power? Control?" No, Elise's voice softened slightly, a faint trace of sadness seeping into her words. "It's about ensuring that humanity survives the coming storms. You saw what happened to the colony. That wasn't an accident. That was a message, Alex." The silence between them stretched as Alex processed her words. He had seen the carnage, the utter destruction of the colony. It had been a warning, yes, but who had sent it, and why? He had assumed the aliens were just trying to scare humanity, force them off the planet. But now it seemed there was something more at play, something far darker. "I don't buy it," Alex said, his voice low. "I don't buy that this was about survival. You've made a deal with these aliens. You've put humanity at risk for your own agenda. What if they turn on us, Elise? What if we're the ones they wipe out next?" Elise's gaze hardened, her eyes narrowing as she met his stare. "You don't understand," she said, her voice now tinged with a sense of finality. "Humanity was always meant to be more than what we are now. This planet, this mission, it's just the beginning. The galaxy is vast, and we're nothing but an insignificant species in it. I'm giving us a chance to rise above that. By becoming monsters?" Alex spat. "You think this is how we rise? By bending to them, becoming just another weapon in their arsenal? You're willing to sacrifice everything we've worked for, the peace we've fought for, just to play in their game?" Elise didn't flinch. "Yes," she replied calmly, "if that's what it takes." Alex's hands trembled with the force of his anger, but he couldn't bring himself to raise them against her. Instead, he turned away, pacing the small room as his mind raced. Everything he had fought for, everything he had believed in, was crumbling before him. Elise, his closest ally, the woman he had trusted more than anyone, had chosen this path. A path of betrayal, a path of power. "So what now?" Alex asked, turning back to her, his voice now laced with defeat. "What do you expect me to do? Stand aside while you finish what you started?" For the first time, Elise's expression flickered. A brief moment of uncertainty crossed her face before it was quickly masked. She stepped closer to him, her voice lowering. "I don't expect you to stand aside, Alex. I expect you to understand, to see the bigger picture. I need you to join me." Alex's chest tightened as she spoke. He could see it in her eyes, the same determination, the same conviction that had always been there, even when they'd fought side by side in the past. But this was different. This was a line that had been crossed, and there was no going back. "You're asking me to abandon everything," Alex said, his voice barely above a whisper. "Everything I stand for. Everything we stand for. I'm asking you to save humanity," Elise replied softly. "You've always been about survival, Alex. This is the only way." Alex shook his head, the weight of her words sinking in. Survival. That's what she had called it. But to him, it felt like something much darker. Elise wasn't saving humanity. She was dooming it. She had traded one form of slavery for another, and now she was asking him to join her in that fate. "I won't help you," Alex said, the words final, the pain of the decision sharp in his chest. "You've made your choice, Elise, and I've made mine." Elise's eyes searched his face for a moment, a flicker of hurt crossing her expression before she masked it. "Then I suppose we'll be enemies. Then I suppose we will." With those words, the divide between them was complete. Elise turned away, her fingers once again flying across the console. Alex knew that the road ahead would be long, that stopping her would come at a high cost. But in that moment, as he stared at the woman he had once called a friend, he knew that nothing would ever be the same again. Chapter 3. The lab door closed with a soft hiss behind Alex as he stepped back into the corridor. The weight of his decision settled heavily on him. Elise, once his closest ally, had turned against everything they had worked for. But she had made her choice, and now he had to make his. Alex's mind raced, his thoughts a blur of anger, betrayal, and confusion. He had seen Elise's vision, her twisted version of progress and survival. The fusion of human and alien technology, the weaponization of human lives, the slow erosion of humanity's soul in exchange for power. He couldn't accept it, no matter what her reasons were. But the planet, the colony, the people they had sworn to protect, those were the things that mattered now. Elise's path would lead them into darkness. Alex would do everything in his power to stop it. He quickly made his way to the command center, where his team had been gathering data and coordinating efforts to track the alien forces. The building was quiet, the hum of machines and the tapping of keys the only sounds breaking the stillness. He strode across the room to a small holographic table where Lieutenant Sarah Greaves was hunched over a console. "Lieutenant," Alex called, his voice firm but tinged with urgency. "I need a status update. What have we learned about Elise's operation?" Sarah looked up, her sharp green eyes reflecting a mixture of determination and concern. "Not much, Captain. We've been able to isolate a few encrypted signals coming from the research station, but they're almost impossible to decode without the proper key. I'm guessing Elise has locked everything down tight." Alex clenched his jaw. "She's expecting us to come after her. She's always been 5 steps ahead." "Then what's the plan?" Sarah asked, her tone laced with the seriousness of the situation. Alex hesitated for a moment, his thoughts darting between what he knew and the choices he had left. "We need to stop the hybrids. If Elise's gone rogue, the last thing we need is those abominations reaching full operational capacity." Sarah's fingers moved quickly over the console, pulling up the data they had gathered from the destroyed colony. "I've been going through the files from the attack. There's something strange about the way the hybrids were deployed, almost like they were testing their capabilities. I don't think they're ready for a full-scale invasion yet, but Elise might be pushing them toward that." Alex's fists tightened at his sides. The hybrids, humans twisted into weapons, had been a nightmare even in their unfinished state. The thought of more of them, fully functional, under Elise's control, was a terror he couldn't afford to entertain. "We can't let it go that far," Alex said firmly. "Gather the team. We're going in. Now." As the small team of soldiers and analysts gathered in the mission briefing room, Alex took a moment to survey their faces. He'd led these people through countless missions, battles, and hostile encounters. But this felt different. Elise had always been an ally, someone he trusted implicitly. Now, she was the enemy, and that fact hit him harder than any battle wound ever could. "All right," Alex began, his voice steady but carrying an edge of urgency. "We're going to hit the research station, extract any information we can, and destroy whatever hybrid technology they've got. Elise has turned on us, and we can't let her finish what she started." Corporal Jensen, a broad-shouldered man with a reputation for quick thinking, raised an eyebrow. "You really think she's gone that far? She was always the one pushing for peace, for diplomacy." "I don't know what happened to her," Alex replied, his eyes narrowing. "But she's not the person we once knew anymore. And that means she's dangerous. This isn't just about saving the colony. It's about saving humanity from the path she's chosen." Sarah tapped a few keys on the terminal, pulling up a holographic map of the research station. "There's a secondary access route we can take. It's less guarded than the main entrance, and it leads straight to the labs where Elise's been working on the hybrid tech." Alex nodded. "Good. We'll go in through there. Stay sharp, everyone. We're up against more than just alien creatures. Elise's got resources and weapons we can't afford to underestimate." The journey to the research station was tense and uneventful, but the weight of what lay ahead hung over them all. As they neared the facility, Alex's mind kept circling back to Elise. Her voice, her calm demeanor when she'd revealed her betrayal. Had she always been this ruthless, this cold? Or had something changed her, twisted her vision of what was possible? The answer didn't matter now. What mattered was that she had crossed the line, and Alex couldn't let her bring the rest of humanity down with her. They arrived at the secondary entrance without incident. The small security force stationed outside had been neutralized with minimal effort. Alex signaled to his team, and they moved quickly, stealthily, through the corridors of the research station. "Stay close," Alex muttered into his comm as they moved through the darkened hallways, each step echoing in the silence. They reached the heart of the station's lab wing, where the hybrid technology was being stored. The door slid open with a soft hiss, and the team spilled into the room. It was a large space, filled with rows of incubators and vats, each one containing a grotesque fusion of human and alien physiology. Alex's stomach churned as he took in the sight. Human faces twisted in unnatural forms, their bodies melded with alien machinery. It was a monstrosity. Sarah stepped forward, scanning the lab. "These things are close to operational. Elise has been pushing them hard." Alex nodded, his eyes scanning the room for anything that could help them understand how far Elise had taken things. He had to find her, stop her, but he also had to make sure these creatures never saw the light of day. A sudden movement caught his eye. One of the hybrid creatures in a nearby vat was twitching. Alex's heart skipped a beat as the creature's glowing eyes flicked open, and it let out a low, guttural growl. "Shit," Jensen muttered, his hand going his weapon. "We've got company." The creature, its form a twisted fusion of man and alien, began to move, jerking violently within its containment. Then, in one swift motion, it broke free, its elongated limbs crashing through the glass of the vat. The room erupted in chaos as the hybrid lunged toward them. "Open fire," Alex shouted, drawing his weapon and taking aim. The team responded in kind, unleashing a volley of shots at the creature. It staggered back, but didn't fall. The hybrid's unnatural resilience was horrifying to witness, and it became clear just how much Elise had sacrificed in her pursuit of power. As the creature charged again, Alex didn't hesitate. He fired a burst that struck it square in the chest, sending it crumpling to the ground in a heap. "Is it over?" Sarah asked, her breath coming in sharp gasps. "For now," Alex said grimly, looking around at the wreckage. "But this is only the beginning. We're running out of time." The hybrid was just a taste of the horrors to come. Elise had crossed a line that Alex couldn't allow to go unchecked. The war had already begun, and it was a war Alex was now forced to fight on both sides. Chapter 4: The blast door slammed shut with a deafening clang, sealing Alex and his team inside the lab. The hybrid creature lay motionless on the floor, but Alex knew this brief victory wouldn't last. Elise's machinations had only just begun. The monsters they had just faced were a glimpse of what she had planned for humanity. What worried him more was the realization that the research station wasn't just a breeding ground for hybrids. It was a launch pad. He wiped the sweat from his brow and checked his rifle, his movements automatic. Every step, every decision felt heavier now. Elise had betrayed everything they stood for, and the worst part was that she believed she was doing it for the greater good. She wasn't just an enemy. She was a fanatic, a visionary in her own mind, and that made her all the more dangerous. "Captain," Sarah's voice broke through his thoughts. She was kneeling beside the control panel, her fingers flying across the keys. "I've isolated a communications signal coming from Elise's office. It's encrypted, but it looks like she's about to initiate something big. We don't have much time." "How much time do we have?" Alex's voice was tight, his hands now gripping his weapon. Every minute that passed was another step closer to an all-out war. "Less than 15 minutes, Sarah replied, looking up, her face pale. "She's activating the hybrids, sending them out to launch an attack on the remaining human colonies. It's all in these files, Captain. She's planning a full-scale assault." Alex's heart pounded as the weight of Sarah's words sank in. A full-scale assault. The attack on New Terra was just the beginning. Elise wasn't just making deals with alien factions. She was leading humanity into a war it wasn't prepared for. "We have to stop her," Alex muttered, more to himself than anyone else. "We have to get to her before she can initiate the strike." "Already on it," Sarah said, tapping a few more commands into the terminal. "I've got the location. Her office is on the top floor, directly above us. We'll have to make our way through the security checkpoint and the labs, but I've disabled some of the locks. We should be able to get there fast." Alex nodded sharply, his jaw set in determination. He turned to the rest of the team. "You heard her. Let's move out. Keep your eyes open. Elise will be expecting us." The journey to Elise's office felt like it took hours, though it was only a few minutes of tense, quiet movement. The facility, which had once felt like a secure hub of knowledge, now felt like a labyrinth of secrets and betrayal. The walls that held their research were now the same walls that held their enemies. Alex felt the weight of every step as they moved through corridors lined with alien technology, tools Elise had used to betray them all. "Captain," Jensen whispered, his voice low, "we've got movement ahead. Looks like a couple of hybrids. We can't take them head-on." Alex held up his hand, signaling for the team to halt. He quickly surveyed the situation. 2 hybrids were patrolling the hallway ahead, their grotesque forms moving with unnerving precision. They were much faster than anything Alex had anticipated. Their bodies, fused with alien tech, made them both dangerous and unpredictable. "Let's bypass them," Alex said. "We don't need to fight them unless we have to. Sarah, can you override the security gate ahead?" Sarah nodded. "Give me a second." She stepped forward, her fingers dancing over the panel on the wall. The gate buzzed before sliding open with a soft hiss. The team moved quickly through, bypassing the hybrids and avoiding a deadly confrontation. "Good work," Alex muttered under his breath. He motioned for them to keep moving, knowing that the real threat was still ahead. Elise was close. Too close. When they finally reached the top floor, the atmosphere was thick with tension. Alex could feel the weight of the moment pressing down on him. He had no idea how this confrontation would play out, but he knew it would determine the fate of everyone on Zarin 5, and perhaps beyond. The door to Elise's office was just ahead, its sleek surface unassuming, as though nothing had changed. Alex paused before it, his team falling silent behind him. The air seemed to hum with an invisible energy, and Alex's gut twisted. He had never wanted to confront Elise like this, but now there was no other choice. "Get ready," Alex whispered, his voice barely audible. "This is it." He swung the door open, and they flooded into the room, weapons drawn. Elise stood at the far side of the room, her back to them, facing a massive screen that displayed a series of data feeds, secure communication channels, hybrid deployment schedules, and images of various colonies. She hadn't heard them enter, or if she had, she didn't care. "Elise," Alex called out, his voice firm but laced with betrayal. "It's over. Shut it down. Now." Elise didn't turn around. Her fingers hovered over the console, and for a moment, there was a heavy silence in the room. "I knew you'd come," she said softly, still not facing him. "You always did think you knew what was best. But you were wrong, Alex. You're all wrong." Alex's grip on his rifle tightened. "You put everything at risk, Elise. The colonies. The people. You don't get to decide their fate. Not like this." Elise finally turned around, and the look in her eyes was colder than anything Alex had seen before. There was no regret, no hesitation, only conviction. "I'm not deciding their fate, Alex. I'm saving them from their own weaknesses. Humanity is on the brink of extinction. You saw what happened to New Terra. This planet is a ticking time bomb. The hybrids will ensure humanity's survival, through strength, not diplomacy." Alex shook his head. "You've made a deal with the devil, Elise. These creatures, this technology, you're no better than the enemies we were supposed to fight." "I'm better," she replied, her voice growing louder now, almost desperate. "I'm the one who's seeing the bigger picture. I'm giving humanity a chance to rise above, to evolve." Alex stepped forward, his voice breaking through the tension. "You're not evolving, Elise. You're corrupting everything we've worked for. You've made us into monsters, and I can't stand by and watch it happen." Elise's expression hardened, and for the first time, there was a flicker of uncertainty in her eyes. But it was quickly replaced by determination. "Then you'll stop me. But you'll see. I was right. In the end, you'll see." She moved toward the console, and Alex knew what she was about to do. Without thinking, he lunged forward, but before he could reach her, Elise hit the button. The screen flickered to life, and Alex's heart sank as the countdown began. The hybrids were on the move. The war had been set in motion. "No!" Alex shouted, but it was too late. Elise's gaze was locked on him, and for a moment, there was no one else in the room. "It's already started, Alex. You're too late." And just like that, everything they had fought for, everything they had hoped for, began to unravel. Chapter 5. The room pulsed with the cold glow of the countdown clock. Every second ticked by like a hammer blow, each one pushing them closer to the abyss. Alex's breath came in short, ragged gasps as his mind raced, calculating, reacting, but every path seemed to lead to the same bitter end. Elise had made her move, and with it, she had set humanity on a path to war, a path that couldn't be stopped, not without unimaginable consequences. The hybrids were already mobilizing. Alex could see them, creatures once human, now twisted, unstoppable, merging flesh and machine in a deadly dance. They were being deployed across the system, already attacking colonies, already beginning their conquest. And there was nothing Alex could do to reverse it. Elise stood before him, her fingers resting on the console, eyes fixed on the screen where the countdown continued relentlessly. She seemed almost serene, as if everything had already been decided, as if she was watching a game play out, with herself as the final victor. "I told you, Alex," she said softly, her voice carrying a weight of finality. "You wouldn't understand. But when it's all over, when humanity has evolved into something greater, you'll see I was right." Alex's eyes burned with frustration, but deep down, something else lingered, regret. He had trusted her once. She had been his partner, his equal, the woman who had shared his vision of a future for humanity. Now, she was his greatest adversary. "When not evolving, Elise," Alex said, his voice low, full of emotion, "we're becoming something less than human. You've abandoned everything we've stood for. You betrayed us all." Elise didn't flinch. There was no anger in her eyes, no defiance, just a cold certainty. "You don't get it. The galaxy is full of threats, far worse than the ones we've seen. What I'm doing, what I've started, is humanity's only chance. The hybrids will ensure we never fall again. We'll be the predators, not the prey." Alex took a step forward, his hand tightening on his weapon. His gaze never left hers. "And what about the cost, Elise? The people you've sacrificed, the lives you've destroyed? All for your vision of a better future. You made a deal with monsters, and now humanity is paying the price." She didn't respond, instead turning back to the console. Her fingers flew over the keys, setting the final stages of the deployment into motion. The countdown was nearly complete. "I'm sorry it had to be this way, Alex," she said quietly, almost as if she were apologizing for a personal failure. "But you'll see. In time, you'll see." Alex couldn't let it end like this. He couldn't let Elise's vision become reality. There had to be something left of the humanity they had fought for, something they could salvage. He had to stop her. With a sudden movement, he lunged forward, pushing past her, trying to reach the console. Elise reacted instantly, her hand striking out, pressing a button on the side of the console, activating the station's security systems. A blinding flash of light filled the room as energy shields rose, blocking Alex's path. He slammed into them, the impact rattling his bones. "Damn it," Alex hissed, his breath coming out in a rush. He backed away, eyes darting around the room. The security shields were impenetrable, and time was running out. Elise stood there, watching him, unmoving, her expression unreadable. "You can't stop it now, Alex. It's already in motion." Alex's heart pounded in his chest. He couldn't let the hybrids be unleashed, not like this. There had to be a way to shut everything down, to reverse the course she had set in motion. His mind scrambled, searching for an opening, a weakness. The countdown continued, each second slipping by with unbearable speed. Then, an idea struck him like a bolt of lightning. He turned, running towards a panel on the far wall. It wasn't much, but it was enough. He had noticed it earlier, a series of exposed wires and control circuits hidden beneath the surface. If he could access it, if he could manually trigger a shutdown, the hybrids wouldn't be able to deploy. The facility's systems would fail, the command would be severed, and Elise's plan would crumble. Without thinking twice, Alex ripped the panel open, exposing the delicate wiring inside. He quickly assessed the connections, his fingers moving swiftly. There wasn't much time, but if he could sever the right cables, if he could disrupt the system just long enough. Alex, don't. Elise's voice was sharp now, filled with panic. If you do that, you'll destroy everything. Everything we've worked for. He didn't answer, his focus narrowing entirely on the wires in front of him. His heart pounded in his chest, his mind racing. One wrong move, and the entire facility could collapse. He couldn't afford to hesitate. He pulled the cables apart, one by one, connecting the right circuits with a precision born of desperation. As his fingers worked, the countdown continued, now only seconds away from zero. Please, Elise pleaded, her voice cracking. You don't understand. You'll ruin it all. I'm saving humanity. But her words fell away as the panels in front of Alex sparked to life. The wires clicked into place, and he knew immediately he had hit the right sequence. The countdown froze. The room seemed to hold its breath. Elise stepped back, her face a mask of disbelief. No, it can't be. You can't. You've ruined it. The security shields around Alex flickered and then dissipated, leaving him standing at the control panel, breathing heavily, his hands still shaking. I did what I had to do, Alex said, his voice steady now, though his chest was tight. He turned to face Elise, his expression hardening. You crossed the line, Elise, and now I'm stopping you. Elise's face was pale, her eyes wide with the realization of what had just happened. You can't. You don't know what you've done. I know exactly what I've done, Alex said coldly. I've saved humanity from you. Her shoulders slumped as she took a step back, the weight of defeat settling over her. You think you've stopped it all, but it's too late. The hybrids are already in motion. They'll evolve without us, and the galaxy will change, whether you like it or not. Alex shook his head, his voice growing firmer. Not like this. Not with the destruction you've caused. Humanity will find its own way. We'll evolve, but not at the cost of everything we've worked for. The room fell silent, the reality of the moment sinking in. Elise was defeated, but the war wasn't over. The hybrids were still out there. The damage had been done. But for now, Alex had won. He had stopped the worst of it. And that, for the moment, had to be enough.